Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, and I want to talk about the government getting involved in highly personal problems that affect macro demographics in America. And this is coming from the film Disney's Elemental, which was came out in 2023. I just got to watch it on Disney Plus. I have that streamer. There will be spoilers for Disney 2023 in this content. Uh, Disney's Elemental is an incredible film, and it's truly incredible. And I I really think we're reaching a new point in America where communication is changing and truth is not changing. Truth, but how we reach truth, how we have truth conveyed to us, is changing, right? And so, and then also one of the other things is politically correct has been around for 20 or 30 years, and there now are huge tracts of subjects that cannot even be remotely discussed except through our art, right? So I think that Disney's Elemental says something very specific about a macro group of Americans. It's talking about first generation immigrants, and first generation American children of those immigrants, right? So the story in Elemental is about this Fire family, okay? And the Fire family is the father, Bernie Lumen, the mother, Cinder Lumen, and the daughter, Ember Lumen, right? And basically, Bernie Lumen, the father, has this shop, and they run two businesses out of the shop. It's called the Fireplace, and it's a small little grocery store that also sells fresh snacks, right, that are made right there on site. So drinks, a little bit of, they call them coal nuts, which are very hot, spicy coal nuts, right? And then, drinks, and then a small grocery store where you can buy all these foods that are from, the Fireland, which is where Bernie immigrated from, okay? So he left his homeland and came to this new land, right? And he set up the Fireplace, his shop. And then his mother runs a almost like a Yenta shop in the bottom. Although I don't know a better term for that. A woman who does matchmaking. Maybe let me know if there's a better term for that. So two businesses out of one shop, right? Very fascinating. And basically, they sacrificed everything to bring Ember. Actually, Ember was born in the new land, but they sacrificed everything to get to the new land. And then they built this incredibly beloved two businesses in the neighborhood. And now Bernie wants to give it to Ember, his daughter, right? But she falls in love with a water person, but she's a fire person. And the movie very clearly says, listen, you see Bernie, right? Bernie Lumen. You see Ember Lumen. Bernie Lumen is saying, Ember, you will take over the shop. I determine what you do for your job. And Ember Lumen, you can't date the water guy, right? You have to date a fire guy, right? Because that's what's important, is that we preserve our heritage, and super, super prejudiced, outrageously prejudiced, right? So I felt like Disney's Elemental was saying, y'alls don't even get it, right? If you are a child born to first-generation immigrants, they're going to choose you. You have the following problems. You have external problems in that you're going to have to work harder, and you're going to speak two languages. And because you're going to speak two languages, you're going to have to work harder to communicate with everyone, right? And because you don't communicate flawlessly all the time, people in the new nation you're in are going to give you a lot of flack, right? And you're going to have external pressures, and then you're going to have incredible internal pressures. You will not be allowed to have any dreams, and you will not be allowed to choose who you love, right? At the macro level. There are certainly exceptions, but at the macro level, this is the experience of the child of a first-generation immigrant. They're going to have incredible external pressures, and they're going to have incredible internal pressures. that is an astounding statement, right? And I think the film is saying it flat out, right? And I did not understand this, right? Now, why didn't I understand it? It's a good question. There's lots of movies that put this forward, right? They're all shot in black and white. They all, right? Many of them are spoken in 2-3 different languages with subtitles. I've not seen any of those movies, right? Nor will I, right? And half of them have Oscars. You haven't watched them. I haven't watched them. They're not going to get watched, right? But when Disney Elemental says, hey, you want to see a dude made with water and a woman made with fire, and they're in a city where cloud people live, I'm like, you bet, yeah, I'll take that. I'm in. Let's do it, right? And it gets watched, right? And so where do we land with Vivek Ramaswamy with this? Well, first of all, we have this incredible candidate, that right here we can celebrate every single day, right? He knows this world, right? He knows about, a first-generation immigrant family coming in and then being born in America. He knows it personally, right? And there's space in his heart where he can understand this, right? President Biden doesn't have any space in his heart for this. He doesn't have the experience, right? He doesn't know anything about this, right? President Donald Trump doesn't have a heart. It's made of stone, right? He's not going to have any ability to help these people, right? But what's really interesting is Vivek's in a position where, as a young Republican with a heart made of human flesh, right? And being young enough to understand young people's problems, and being, in a situation where he can understand what it means to be the child of of a first generation immigrant, it's pretty incredible, right? Like we have this ability to celebrate because there's a possibility that he can actually understand and help. And then more than that, because he's such an unusual Republican, right? Not some 80-year-old, person who's all of these concepts are extremely alien to, right? Still still at a position where his emotions can still impact his heart, right? Because it isn't literally small and shriveled and with age and, harsh experiences, right? It's incredible because we have this candidate we can celebrate who can say, hey, not only am I going to solve those external problems that these immigrants have, but I can use the presidency to solve the internal problems that they struggle with, right? And just the willingness to reach out and do it and say, there's not going to be, I can't stop a first immigration, parent from telling his kid to, what job they have to have and what, and who they're going to love. He can say, I can use the presidency for that, right? And branch out into it, right? Now, again, not all first-generation immigrants, subject their children to this. But I thought the movie was pretty clear that this is not uncommon, that it absolutely is a problem that has to be addressed today, and it should be addressed. And in my humble opinion, it should be addressed by the government if we have the right candidate, a candidate that can be celebrated every day. That's something I'm learning too. Like, can you imagine if if you support President Biden, you can't celebrate anything any day, right? Like, no one's gonna oh yay, good job, President Biden. It's not literally not. This channel is a celebration of Vivek Ramaswamy. There are no channels that celebrate President Biden. There are channels that celebrate President Donald Trump, and they hide themselves with shell accounts on Rumble. That's where you'll find it. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.